Hello, my name's Mary Coupland. Welcome to Compass and Clock, The Road Ahead. Through a series of guests, we are going to navigate you on your own road ahead as you age. We will help you plan for your journey and that of your aging parents. Because let's face it, who wants to be blindsided or find themselves in a crisis mode simply because they didn't have access to information? So here at the Compass and Clock group, we want to guide you into your best future. So my first guest today is Sue-Marie Casagrande. And Sue-Marie is a licensed clinical social worker and an aging life care professional. She specializes in geriatric care management, and she's a true advocate for seniors as it pertains to the 8 areas of knowledge.
Yes.
Sue-Marie, hello, thank you for joining me today. Why don't we kick this off by telling our viewers what the 8 areas of knowledge are?
The 8 areas of knowledge are designated by the Aging Life Care organization, of which I am a member, and they are crisis intervention, housing issues, financial issues, legal issues, issues having to do with family, issues having to do with local resources, advocacy. Yeah, that's it.
That's a mouthful, right?
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot. Now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer and a doctor and a CPA and a housing expert. But what I am is like a general contractor for aging. I can find out what a person needs, find out what a person's goal is, find out how to conserve their dignity, which is really important to me, make sure that they're safe, and then plug them into the right people, places, programs, and assistance that will help them realize their goals. And the goals are usually staying at home for as long as possible, having as much independence, and enjoying life.
I like those goals. So why don't we do this? I have a few questions I wrote down just in case I didn't remember them all.
Okay.
And the first one would be, why don't you just give us a little quick, example of how you play a role in all of this?
I usually start out by making an in-home visit, and I do an initial assessment. I ask a lot of questions. I find out a lot about the person, not just where they're living, what their goals are, what their values are, but also their health issues, their medications, the list of doctors that they have, everything that goes into the person in their own environment being safe and having quality of life. So it's a little different than just looking at the medical piece or just looking at the physical piece. It's the whole person. After I do the assessment, I make recommendations based on their home environment, their medical care. I check for any depression or suicide risk, which is a big concern with a lot of our older folks. I check for any problem areas that could come up to create the crisis down the road that we want to avoid.
Okay, so if my parent is getting older, how would they go about finding a geriatric care manager in their area?
That's a very good question. As you know, I'm part of the Compass and Clock organization, and so I meet a lot of other advocates for seniors, and we do refer a lot to each other, because with the different disciplines, we can basically create a wagon train around an elder to just keep anything problematic at bay and just make sure that they're safe and they've got the support that they want. People find me through their lawyers. They find me through guardians that are either court appointed or the family decides they're not locally, not living here locally, and so they'll hire a guardian to handle things. I get referrals from medical providers, and then people go on to the Aging Life Care Association website, and there's a big tab for Find an Expert in your area. You can plug in a zip code or a city and state and get a list of people with my credentials. Aging life care professionals are typically social workers, a lot are nurses, and then some are physical or occupational therapists. But we all have a shared goal of creating safety and quality of life for elders.
She answered 2 questions there in that one, because I was going to ask, how would they find you then? And you gave us the website, so we'll make sure we put that on the screen. So for your types of services that you provide, so that everybody can age safely and remain independent as long as possible, How is this covered by insurance or Medicare, or is it private pay? How does this all work?
Unfortunately, it's not covered by insurance. It really should be, and maybe someday it will be, but it's not right now. I can definitely point people to services that would be covered by insurance, and part of being a social worker is always paying attention to the bottom line, knowing that a person's life can change radically in an instant. You never know what's going to happen. So by default, I always try to save people money. Whatever I can find that's the most cost effective, I'm going to recommend that. But I also want them to have good value. And so it's not covered by insurance. I'm pretty efficient, and I know what I'm doing very well, so I work quickly. And it actually ends up saving money. Just briefly, I had a client whose family was all on the East Coast. The daughter was dealing with her career and a husband with a very serious illness. She was having to fly all the way out to Washington and try to be a care manager without really understanding the housing situation here, our Medicaid rules, what is available for seniors living at home, and she just wasn't getting anywhere. I ended up working with her mother. It came in at under $2,000 for pretty extensive work that took many, many months. And her mother now has great medical care, really good housing. She's got caregivers for 50 hours a month, and she's just doing really well. I don't know that that would have happened if the daughter had been doing it on her own. It's too hard.
It's hard enough to do it when you live in the whole same area, let alone across the country.
And then you have to take time off of work. You're cutting into your vacation time. That usually has an impact on the marriage or the relationship. A lot of people with aging parents are also looking at putting their kids through college, so they're strapped financially. They don't really have the time to be in many places at once. And it just ends up being higher value, good bang for the buck to hire a geriatric care manager.
So your services are private pay. However, the connections that you set them up with for their care plan, those aren't necessarily all private pay.
Exactly. It really depends on what the person qualifies for, what's available in our area. And a lot of times I just go in and work like a consultant. Families will be pretty organized, they'll have a good idea, but they'll just need a little bit of tweaking. The home won't be quite set up for somebody that needs to use a walker, for example, and they're not quite sure what to do about that. Or perhaps they need caregivers in the home and they want to find out which agency would most likely have the caregivers that would be the best for their elder. It's little things like that. Other times I'm involved, very, very involved for the long run for the person. And that's often people that don't have kids or really don't have families. And they need somebody to go to medical appointments that actually understand the medical programs, can advocate for them, can talk with the doctors, suggest various treatments or therapies, just not to order them, but to ask the doctor about them. And it's just helpful. It's always good to have an extra set of eyes and ears whenever you're in a medical appointment.
True. So something that you said prompted me to ask this question. You were talking about how most folks, if they could in a perfect world, would like to age in place in their own home.
Yes.
But I think what that really means is home is where you lay your head. It might not necessarily be in the house. You could be living in an assisted living or an independent community. So am I understanding you properly that you can provide your geriatric care management services wherever they call home?
Absolutely. And with some of my clients, I start out with them at home. I help them transition into a facility. I help make the facility like home and see what is really important to that person. What is it that they had at home that made their old house the really special place? And then you try to bring those elements into the new place, into the facility, and make it as comfortable as possible. It can be a hard transition, but it can also be really exciting for people. They get a new social life, they get activities, and a lot of people get tired of having to prepare their own meals every day and do the shopping when you've done that your whole life and you've raised family and then you're in your 80s or 90s. It's kind of nice to have somebody else do all the cooking.
It is. Most people probably consider these senior communities as nursing homes, and that really isn't the case. I mean, it's a new chapter in their lives, especially if they've been living home by themselves. You know, they can start to be lonely. What's the purpose of getting up in the morning? So you move into one of these communities and they have activities planned. They help with your meals, with the maintenance of your room that you're, you know, living in, etc.
Absolutely. I want to jump in there and say one thing. As a geriatric care manager, I'm always looking at the latest evidence-based data about how seniors can really thrive. And what we're finding out is that social isolation is more damaging than smoking, drinking, and driving without a safety belt. It's actually one of the riskiest and worst things for seniors. So that's something to really pay attention to. People want to be in their homes, but they need to have interaction with others.
Do you hear that? You can have your independence and a social life too.
Yes.
We're probably going to need to wrap this up. So is there any parting words, anything you want to share with the viewers before we say goodbye?
I want to recommend that people go to The Road Ahead. It's an awesome opportunity to meet with many, many, many people that are dedicated completely to taking care of seniors.
I'm going to stop here for 1 second. I
Don't
don't
need to
know
say
where
that?
this is going to,
Okay.
when this is going to air.
Okay.
So
Ask me again.
take it. Okay.
Ask me again, I'll give you a better answer.
Well, we're going to need to wrap up here. So is there any parting words you want to share with our viewers?
Yes, get involved. Get involved with Compass and Clock. Learn who we are. Learn who all of the people are in our community. We really are working hard together to make Kitsap an excellent place to age. Kitsap, Pierce, and Clallam, and Jefferson. We want this whole peninsula to be a really, really robust, great place for seniors, because I'm going to be a senior soon and I want it to be great.
Well, Sue-Marie, I would have to say that the information you shared with all of us is invaluable. And let's face it, everybody's goal is to grow old and enjoy life. We've earned it. So in order to do that and have the best quality of life, you need to have access to information like we're providing you today. So we encourage you to go to the Compass and Clock website, see what events are out there, connect with the different professionals, and ask us questions. We're here for you. Sue-Marie, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for taking a few minutes of your day to spend it with us. We look forward to talking to you again at the next Road Ahead.